A very nice, lovely, hot afternoon. I'm logging in from Botswana in Africa. And this could be your morning, it could be your evening, depends on where you're joining us from. We're super excited and happy to have this session that we so much love, where we get to discuss all things STEAM education. So, my name is Miss Kim, and I love all things innovation, STEAM education, and much more anything that can make our children, especially from marginalized communities, realize their worth, their value, their talents, and how well they can feature in this global community and uplift others. So I'm very privileged to work with marginalized communities across the continent and see the innovativeness of our children, especially those in the villages. We've worked extensively with diverse groups from culture to education background, schools in the city to schools in the village. And every time it's quite an eye opener that yes, Africa, we have the solutions we need, and they're right within marginalized communities. So I'm joined with our lovely panel of speakers. I have Gaone. She's one of our facilitators who loves all things education, STEAM education, bespoke. We have Refilwe, they'll introduce themselves. We have Sophia, and we have Muso. So we're going to kickstart this conversation with introductions. Kaone, could you just briefly introduce yourself? Who are you? Where do you come from? What do you stand for? What makes you kick and what keeps you up at night?
Thank you very much, Miss Kim. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. My name is Gaone. I am a well-rounded creative, an author, a speaker, and a STEAM enthusiast. What I do at Destination Imagination is facilitation, sales, and marketing. What keeps me at night is that I have dreams and I would love to see them manifest. And I love the fact that I can create, and I love the fact that I can actually impart that love for creativity into a young soul. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaone. Our next speaker, you'll introduce yourself, Sophia Diboko. Thank you, Sophia. And then our next is Resego. Thank you, Resego. And then, there's always that boy child that wants to hide sometimes. I think we're just going to say hello to him right here. He joined.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so happy to be part of this podcast. I'm having a bit of technical issues, but I'll be with you very, very shortly. So you'll see me very, very soon. Thank you.
We don't know your name.
Oh, right. My name is Muso. Yeah, you can call me Blaze. Other people know me as Blaze. I don't know where, but they call me Blaze.
Wow. Okay. So it's Muso, aka Blaze. So now we're gonna start with Kaone. Kaone is very, very deep. She's a speaker, she's a musician. But why am I saying things for Kaone? I shouldn't steal her voice. And Kaone will take us straight up to in the event we could be having some of our listeners. And please tell us, put on the comment section where you're joining us from. What field are you in? How do you feel about STEAM education? Are you empowering some learners in your community? And then we get to Kaone, who is going to tell us what is STEAM education, Miss Kaone?
be any echo. It's just gonna sound like because of the delay.
Thank you very much, Madam Gaone. That was quite a super good presentation. You're getting us to understand what's STEAM education. Could you please give us some insights on the foundation for STEAM education and innovation? Where are we constantly bringing on these kids having to be innovative? Thank you very much, Kaone. You're just a natural. I think you were born to teach. Have you considered that? You were truly born to teach. So, Kaone, I'll ask our other speakers if they have any questions they'd like to ask Kaone. And that goes to even our listeners who I can see Gashaye on LinkedIn. Welcome, Gashaye. Anybody, LinkedIn, you're seeing us, you're watching us from LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, please you can comment, you can put on the comment section any questions, and I'll also ask our audience, Resego, Sophia, and Muso, if you have any questions for Gaone, please go ahead. Okay, Gaone, they have spared you some questions, but I have a question for you. I'd like you to give us you sound very deep in the space of team education. I think it's not just something you do as a job, it's something you love doing. What would be some of the strategies we can utilize when you talk about training within marginalized communities? So we find ourselves in a village, let's say somewhere in Bobonong. There's no electricity, there are no laptops, and there are children right in that village. Which strategies can we use to introduce them into STEAM education? Apologies, our listeners. Some tech glitches. Apparently, our speaker was on
Oh
mute.
my goodness. My word. Oh, apologies, sincere apologies. Thank you very much for that assistance, Miss Kim. Should I start over or timekeeping? I could be a bit more brief in answering the question.
Yeah, you can try to just summarize. Yes, just summarize it.
Ah, my goodness. Wow. The strategy to use, to sum it up, is to get children to work with what they have. Why? Simply because, if at all you are at Bubono and all you have is a couple of tin cans, a bottle, a couple of cloths, even a crayon that is, almost used up, you can make something happen with it. And that is the way in which we teach at DI. And it's a strategy that I can always advise and recommend to any other institution or innovation center. Why? Simply because that is where improvisation comes into place. And somebody who knows how to work and create something out of little, that's somebody who will be able to manage their finances tomorrow, even manage resources for the organizations they work for tomorrow. So we need those skill sets. We need to have children or youth or participants who are able to look at what they have and see that this is something we can work with to make something happen, even if it's at just a prototype level. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes. Thank you very much, Gaone. That was super brilliant.
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners, you have questions that you can put on the chat box. We'll get back to you,
Yes.
Kaone, on more questions later. And
Thank
we'll
you.
watch the screen and see what questions. Now we're gonna move next to Muso. Muso, you're an engineer, and engineers are very, very innovative. That's what we know. So you can do a little bit of an introduction in how you got into engineering, because you're in space, and please tell us about. We know we used to look at it as a buzzword, the whole thing about climate change. But right now, I think we've all been victims. We can all see the global changes when it comes to climate. So, how are we blending in STEAM education and climate change, and how can we resolve some of the global challenges we're facing? And especially right in our backyards, right in Botswana. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. All right. Um, all right. Yes. AKA Blaze is here. Thank you for having me on this platform. I'm having a bit of technical issues. That's why you see the name Resego here on my right, but that's okay. Um, So, as Miss Kim said, I am an engineer. How I got into the engineer space, I always had a innovative and creative uh, mind, and I think engineering is what I was drawn to because it always challenged me to think and to come up with solutions that are a bit outside the box. Now, I want to ask you as viewers something. Maybe let's just get a little bit personal, right? How many of you have ever taken a really, really relaxing walk? Like the type of walk that made you feel like you exercise every day, like so healthy, like you breathe in and you can actually feel good oxygen getting inside you and as if it's doing something to your body. I don't know if you can relate with that. Now, if you've ever experienced that or you want to experience that, imagine if I said, in about 10 minutes, it's all going away. How would that make you feel? Kind of bad, right? And that's because our climate can be damaged by the things that we're inventing, by the resources that we're using. And we need to always be on the guard and always be taking care of how we're using the technology that we have. I mean, for example, look at cars. If you go to some of the most populated countries, polluted, sorry, countries, and are also some of the most populated countries, it's very hard to breathe. But if you come to a less populated country, like for example here in Botswana, you find that you can go outside and just enjoy the fresh air. And now, what STEM is doing is we're teaching people how to think outside the box. We want them to also not only think outside the box in terms of being technologically advanced, but also being sustainable with the environment, because the environment is very important to us. It's very important that we not only get to come up with beautiful concepts and and bring to life those beautiful ideas, but at the same time, we have a place to actually enjoy them. And that's the earth that we live in. So with STEAM, we teach them. I just want to touch on three. On Let me just sum it up and say just 2 points: sustainable design, and then also how we can use data-driven initiatives to monitor our environment. So, with sustainable design, I'll give you an example of a country that's just nearby here called Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, there's a mall that is called the Eastgate Center in Harare. And this mall actually drew inspiration from an animal in its design. And that is the termite. So this mall is designed to be like a termite. And what that does is it allows ventilation to come and cool the whole building in a natural way. And this was done in 1996. So it's the first of it was the first of its kind to ever come up with a sustainable design that has no environmental impact. So what does this mean? That mall doesn't use air conditioning, and that means lower energy consumption and a smaller carbon footprint. All because someone was out enjoying nature and was like, look at how these termites are cooling the whole hive. If you've ever seen a termite mold, you would see that it's very tall. It's like a mole, but they were able to take that idea and then implement it in the design of that building. So with STEAM, we're teaching them to also enjoy the environment and then to think how they can blend the designing of products with the environment that we live in, just to make it sustainable and beautiful. And then, if I'm to give you guys another one, just a common that we all use. I'm sure we've all heard of Velcro. Did you know that that's also another design that was inspired by nature? It was inspired by something called burdock seeds. And this inventor saw how they used to attach to his dog's fur. And then he took that and he's like, how are they doing this? And then he took that and he made Velcro. And we use Velcro for everything. So much so that now we don't even need to, for some things, we don't need to use glue. And what does that mean? Less adhesives, and that reduces the need for disposable adhesives, and we minimize environmental waste, because we know that it takes a lot to just make adhesives, and a lot goes into that. But with Velcro, you're just literally using your common gadgets just to make a little spine that will hook, and that's all inspired by nature. So there's a lot that we can draw from our environment and that we can blend into the things that we come up with. And with STEAM, we're teaching them to think outside the box, to look at the things that are around them and come up and be creative to say, how can I take what I'm looking at right there and its complex and beautiful design and also put it into what I'm making here. And then maybe I'll give you one last one. If you think there's, maybe this is even a bit more commercial. With swimmers, we know that the fastest swimmers, or rather the most vicious ones in the ocean, are sharks. But that's exactly how we took that shark detail and put it into the design that we use for swimwear. And we use shark skin to reduce the drag in water. which makes those swimmers way faster, and the competition just becomes more alive because you're removing all those disadvantages. So there are many ways in which we can infuse our nature into the designs that we're making and design things that are sustainable for our environment. And then, if you will, I said I'd focus on just two things: sustainable design, and then the data-driven environmental monitoring. Now, we're in Africa here, and there's a saying that, Africa is like the bread bin of the world because we love agriculture. There are a lot of farmers, a lot of them. But sometimes I worry because they are not putting into use data in their farming. You see, if they were to actually make use of data into their farming, they would come up with more sustainable ways to use water, to know when to plant seeds, because it's not just a matter of now planting seeds. We now have research that shows that there's a good time to plant seeds. You have to study the soil around you, the amount of fertilizer that you need to put. And because we have all this data, we can actually go into an environment and apply it so that when we farm, we bring a huge yield. So all these are just examples of how STEAM can open the mind of thinkers to say, okay, let me think about this in a very critical and effective way to say, how can I take this data, interpret it well, put it nicely in a project, and then say and apply it to actually make my farming very, very productive. So nowadays that you'll find that farmers collect data on soil quality, on the weather patterns, because we have things that can do that. We have to use them for advantage so that we are not wasteful in our environment, because we know that we can now use a sufficient amount of water, a sufficient amount of fertilizers, and produce a huge and a good yield. So all these are ways in which STEAM is opening our minds to think of creative ways to apply our innovative ideas in a sustainable way so that tomorrow our children can also enjoy the air that we are breathing right now, and that they have also good air for themselves to breathe.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Real nuggets of wisdom getting dropped here. Thank you, Muso. And I can see we have quite a number of comments. Chiesa, you must be celebrating and dancing, especially after your mall was mentioned in Zim, right? And how amazing is that? I've actually never heard of that, the sustainable design. Muso, I think we'll get back to you for you to tell us much more about this mall after we get Resego do her presentation. So thank you, Chiesa. We can see you. Thank you, Dr. Nu. Thank you, Auntie. And thank you, Ad Aid. We can see you with very interesting questions. Ad Aid is asking, she says this is music in her ears, but then she wants to know, actually, I can show this on this platform. Great. She says, very interesting music. What specific types of data are crucial for accurate environmental monitoring, and how are they collected? So, Muso, you have a question. Please work on your answer. And we have this from Chiesa, loving this innovative thinking of STEAM and destination by destination in Africa. Resego, Refilwe, Likoko, inspiring your students to increase their awareness in the wisdom of God's creations and incorporating them into human infrastructures and data-driven ingenious. Thank you, Chiesa. And Chiesa, we're looking for speakers, so we're going to invite you next to come in as a speaker. Yes, Eastgate is a true wonder of a sustainable design inspired by natural infrastructures. Great. Very interesting, Muso. This is from Ad Aid. In what ways can individuals and communities actively engage with or contribute to data-driven environmental monitoring initiatives? So lots of questions for you there. I had seen another one from a very, very lovely friend and doctor on LinkedIn. I can see it now. And I think it was a question for you or a comment for you, Gaone. So we're just going to move on and have Resego do her presentation. So Resego, we talk about STEAM and we have been advocates for STEAM and totally just paying attention to STEAM and trying as much as we can to focus on STEAM and not STEM. So we have STEAM with A, which represents arts and many other things, soft skills and stuff like that. Could you please explain to us, just bring it to us, let's get to understand what role is arts and A in STEAM education playing and why do we emphasize on that so strongly? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kim, for the question. And it's very important to be open-minded. I will say this in case or in a scenario of a school, because most of the time we work with students. Some are preschoolers, some are 7 years, 8 years, and so forth. So, and also the other thing I have observed this when we're doing like activations in school. The moment you say robotics and coding, some parents will be shocked. They'll be like, imagine a standard one doing robotics and coding. That seems so complex. But the moment you mention that there is art inside, still they seem perplexed because they can't seem to comprehend the art and STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. However, when you talk about artistic dimension of STEAM, is the creative and expressive aspect that can be integrated into the fields of STEM. Like, how do we incorporate art into STEM? STEM subjects are associated most of the time, like I've already mentioned, with logic, analysis, and deemed so complex to understand. So by integrating arts, we are trying to make it more simplified and be able to experience the science, the technology, the engineering in our everyday life. That's why we are incorporating art. So in other ways, art is more like you are adding color to the STEM. You are adding color to STEM to make it STEM. So color, I can say art. I've already mentioned that it's a different expression, whether in form of song, in form of drawing, in form of graphic, as long as you can express yourself in a creative way. So innovation, so art and color, like I've already mentioned, for example, it enhances innovation. It enhances communication. There's various ways in how you can communicate. You can express yourself by poets or poetry rather. That's a form of communication, but in a creative way. And then another thing is just you can also incorporate creativity, which is in a way unleashing innovation. For example, have you ever wondered why you can hold your phone when you pick up your phone? It's something that is so easy to pick up and is so lightweight. So that is someone there being creative and also at the same time having a functional product. Because at the end of the day, we want to live a life that is more easier than complex than we used to do. And then another thing, art enhances STEAM, like I already mentioned, when it comes to visualization. Art is so diverse. Visualizing the invisible, for example, science, or should I say biology, if I can give an example. We have been taught about the molecules, the DNA, and stuff like that. Those things, they are like in the unseen world. But when you incorporate art, you are bringing the unseen to be visible. You are bringing the invisible to the visible world. For example, I've mentioned the DNA. You know, when you hear the teacher talking about the DNA, like the DNA, you'll be like, what is this thing? But the moment you incorporate art, the scientists rather, they designed the DNA module or the DNA complex to be able to observe it. Like in the laboratories, when you go to the laboratories, you can see the DNA samples or DNA pictures because of art. Is art enhancing the STEAM or art enhancing the science aspect? Another thing is that art does not only enhance the color, for example, if I may put it that way, it also makes things appealing and enjoyable. For example, if you are working with, let's say you are making an experiment in a lab and you incorporate something like music, you are trying to work in an environment that is so conducive. You can still work at the same time, you can still enjoy at the same time. In a nutshell, I can say art is making learning fun. You are learning in a fun way. That's why it's even enjoyable to the kids. They're always looking forward to learn with us robotics and coding. For example, if I may share, we have a scratch coding here. It's a form of coding that is so simple and appealing to the kids. So they learn to design cartoon, they learn to program cartoon. Like they can see cartoons moving and go, oh, I've made something that is functional. I've made something that can easily move, but it's in a way that is tailor-made to a child. Yeah. Another thing, art helps makes learning so easy and engaging. If I may also add on that. And it also makes a learning so interactive, because we are talking now about inclusivity. We are not only sidelining those ones who are not tech nerds, if I may put it that way. Even the creative ones, even the ones who are so obsessed or they have art in heart, they're also included. Everyone, they can find their space in the STEAM world, but in their own lane. Yeah.
Thank you. Mute yourself. Thank you very much, Resego. I think Resego nailed it extremely well. I can see she has a lot of questions to answer. Can I shoot you questions? I'll mention you questions, you get ready, and then we'll go to Sophia, and then we'll get back to Muso. And Gaone, if you want to support, contribute in answering the questions, that would be much appreciated. So, Muso, I think I read that one. Then we have a question from Empirical Tutors. Empirical tutors, they're saying they're loving the current topic. Resego, do you believe that there has been any growth to the arts industry since it was incorporated into STEM? I personally believe art is a perfect expression of STEM. That's Empirical tutors. And then we have Chiesa. She says, brilliant application of integrating art and science, which enhances the creativity and unique expressions and design. Nurturing your students to keep an open mind and encouraging young minds to explore their imagination to inspire product designs and production. Thank you so much, Chiesa. Chiesa, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're talking about, which is very interesting when we want to address the issue of we are told we're all born creative. The question is, what happens to that creativity as we grow? We're all born creative. What happens to it as we grow? So that's a cause for concern, and that's something we need to address. So we're getting to Sophia. Sophia, I'm sure you're ready to give us your presentation. Sophia, please tell us about yourself, and then let's get straight into careers in STEAM education or in STEM. Thank you.
It's a beautiful day, and I believe we are all happy to be part of this podcast. My name is Sophia Diboko, and I am a Destination Imagination alumni, and I'm also a resident trainer here. DI, it's all about you being you. It's the art of self-expression. My journey with Destination Imagination has been that one of an amazing story. It's been an incredible journey that I wish that all kids can go through it and be part of DI as our future innovators and all that. So I am thrilled to be one of the young innovators, and I'd like us to delve into the experiment and the excitement of STEM education, which is preparing for future careers. As I've said, my name is Sophia, and today we'll be unraveling the mysteries of STEM education and how it's ultimate to launchpad for our future tech wizards and science superheroes. Future ready minds. Let's talk about the importance of STEM. Why choose STEM? Well, it is not just about equations and coding, it's about nurturing the future ready minds. We are not just preparing students for jobs, we are creating architects for the future, the dreamers who will turn the impossible into I am possible. when we talk about the science in STEM, it's just not about that lab coat, that beaker where you have to take all those acids and put them into that one thing. It's all about curiosity. Why is it that when I am to take this acid and then I mix it with this one, I get this, right? So it's all about curiosity. Moments into groundbreaking and discovering all the science related things. As we know that science is everywhere, we live science. For me to eat, it's science. For me to be able to speak, for me to be able to move, it's all science. So science is an ultimate adventure. Now let's delve into technology. So tech is our everyday superhero. It's just not about mastering gadgets, and it's about creating them. What is the need of me to be able to master a gadget and I don't know how did we end up having this? What is the backstory behind this PC that I'm using right now, right? So it's about creating all these technologies that we have and understanding the digital world and turning the what ifs into what's next. What if this computer won't be able to log into LinkedIn? Let's change that. Let's be curious about tech and change that into a what's next. What's next? Okay, now we managed to be able to be live on LinkedIn. What about we go try at Facebook? What about we go try to broadcast a live on WhatsApp? That is the what's next. Why? Because you've been curious of what we already have, which is the what if. Now we'll talk about engineering. So engineering is the art of problem solving, the real world superhero, from building bridges to solving global challenges, and that with all that, engineers turn imagination into reality. As we always say, I remember Gaone said was talking about STEM being all about critical thinking, problem solving, critical thinking and problem solving. So when we talk about the art of engineering, we are talking about someone who has an imagination and they want that thing that they're imagining to be something that is real. So most of the time with engineers, we get to see them designing all these things, and then we get to have our bridges, we get to have the houses that we're in, we get to have all the structures that are around us. Not only that, we have different kinds of engineers. We have software engineers, we have industrial engineers, and they are in different branches of engineering. But with all of this, it takes the art of critical thinking, it takes the art of problem solving for you to be able to get your imagination into reality. What about the arts? Who says you can't paint and code at the same time? And who is that to tell you that you can do this, you can do that, that an artist cannot be good at programming, that a teacher cannot be good at computer science, that a doctor cannot be good with maybe, let's say, babysitting? I believe that's a good example because if we are to experience that, that shows that most of us, we are lacking a little bit of soft skills. So art is all about bringing creativity. Creativity doesn't have to be you painting that colorful wall and all those. Creativity starts with your mind. Creativity involves critical thinking. It involves problem solving. It involves all the soft skills that you could think of, right? So with art, it's the secret sauce that turns data into masterpieces and ideas into innovation. Let's talk about mind maps. Usually when we study, we have this thing of using mind maps where I'll have that circle and then the arrow pointing there. That is art, right? It's a masterpiece. I am trying to lay out what? My ideas, my innovative ideas. It just, I usually say art is everything that is around you, whether it's a tree, whether it's a paper, whether it's a charger, even the words that you just say out of your mouth, that is art. The way you are able to communicate and express yourself, I call that art. A tree is art. Like art is just following you everywhere. So even your brain, your mind, it's art. So before you can even start innovating to say, you know what, I want to create an app that does this, that does that, it's just an art. It starts with art. So that is how we create innovators and all that. Now let's get into mathematics. Math, it's numbers. But these numbers are not just about calculations. They are the language of the universe. We talk about money, each and every business that you get into, you get the numbers. Even when you're just jotting your notes, point number one, point number two, point number three, that is math. It's a number. Sometimes you don't have to calculate it, but what? It's just a language that we use as the universe. So mathematicians are cosmic translators, decoding the secrets of cosmos. I believe that some of us here have an idea of what that is. Now I'd like us to delve into preparing for future careers in STEM. So STEM is the ultimate training ground. It's not about memorizing facts. It's about learning how to learn. When I talk about STEM, or every time when I start imagining, I just realize that all that I have to do, it's for me to be able to memorize the facts. That is the main thing. What are the facts? What is real? What is happening in this out world? What's the need for me to have an imagination that might not be real? So with STEM, you get to experience the real world, and then that's when you gauge it with your imagination. I'm not saying that whatever that you are imagining is not good, but whatever that you are imagining has to be something that you're seeing already. You know what? This thing can be brought up into the real world. So it's all about learning how to learn, how to adapt, and how to create. Most of the time when we talk about STEM, we are talking about hands-on activities. And everything that is hands-on, it's just problem solving. What's the need of doing hands-on things when you're not solving anything? There's no need, right? So it's the backstage pass to be tech-driven and scientifically charged careers of tomorrow. Now, young innovators, the future is bright and it's in the hands of those who dare to dream, who dare to innovate, who dare to embrace the power of STEM. So let's ignite those sparks of curiosity and watch our young minds soar into unimaginable heights. So, all that I can say about careers that we have in STEM and how STEM can help us into getting into that career that you want, all that I can say is that just get the soft skills, because STEM, it's all about soft skills. If you are able to dream, to innovate, to embrace the power of STEM, then whatever career that you want, you're all good. You are all sorted. Whether you want to be a doctor, whether you want to be a teacher, whether you want to be an artist, all that I can say is that being an engineer is not the only career in STEM. Being a doctor is not the only career in STEM. Being a nurse is not the only career in STEM. You can be an artist. You can just be what you want to be. Dream and embrace your dream and use that power that you have. Cheers to STEM. Thank you very much, Miss Kim.
Wow. 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 Oh, wow. She's called Madiboko. Loads and loads of gems. I've tried. I lost it, Chiesa. I lost it with my reporteering skills. Trying to summarize what Sophia was dropping. However, you can get this. We are recording. It's a live session, but it's recorded. So we can share the link on it's actually on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm not very sure LinkedIn keeps it for how long, but I'll be happy to share that. And this is going to be an every Friday, 4 p.m. South African time session. And we're looking for speakers to join us. We're looking for mentors. We want to collaborate. And we're going to be having a lot of sessions with educators and children. We want to hear the kids' voice. We want them to be able to come and express themselves. So I'm just going to get back to, let me start with Muso. Muso, you're ready with your answers? You had a lot of questions from the speakers, from the listeners. Over to you, Muso.
Okay. Thank you all for the questions. Yes, I would like to answer the questions in this way. I'll just combine them and then answer it as in one point so that the other speakers have time to answer the questions that they received. The questions that I received were what specific types of data are crucial for accurate environmental monitoring and how are they collected? And then the other one was how can individuals and communities actively engage and contribute to data-driven environmental monitoring. Okay, that's a mouthful, but let me just combine them and say and put it like this: the types of data that we can collect. There's a lot of it. It's natural disaster, the land use and the land cover data. We can collect human impact, the soil quality, as I mentioned in the example about the farmers. You can also collect the biodiversity and the ecological data. Now, I think that the problem is not in just the data, it's in this question of how we get people to engage as a community. I think the most important thing with attacking this problem of of developing a sustainable environment is we need the manpower, and it's very important to get the buy-in of the community. They need to see why this is important, because if they don't understand why, you have to ask yourself, why should I care about having a sustainable future? Why should I care about having a clean street out there? You have to get that buy-in so that you can get the volunteers. Because I think with most of this data that we need to collect, it's not even an issue of we need a lot of minds to come up with the most intricate and new ways of collecting data. It's just getting the people to take part. So get that buy-in. That's a very practical step in getting the community. Make sure that you get that buy-in so that they understand why it's important that they should care. Because when someone cares, they'll go a very long way with the project. And that's all we need, is for people to care about this. And once they care about it, they can then, come up with initiatives together and use this data to make the environment better. For example, now I think I love just having a clean neighborhood. You can get together as neighbors and go out and say, today we're cleaning our environment. We're taking old rubber tires and we're going to make them artistic. We're going to make it beautiful and we're going to clean up and pick up the litter so that our environment is clean. But the important thing is get that buy-in. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's pretty well articulated. And I hope our listeners, you got it. So we're going to proceed in the interest of time. I see we have 3 minutes to go. So we're going to give Resego 1 minute to respond to the questions you have. Are you ready, Resego?
Okay, I noted only one question. Someone asked what happens to our creativity as we grow up. And then they also mentioned asked whether we are born creative or not. So I can only say that as we grow up, creativity evolve. Some were born with that mind, but I can say creativity, you grow into creativity. And then the more exposure, the more the creative you are. So creativity, for you to be able to grow in the area of creativity, you need to be open-minded. For example, you see myself here. I was never a tech person at all. But because I'm open-minded, I'm willing to learn. So I get to grow in creativity in the area of technology. And then another thing is that the difference between kids or children and adults is that children, they get to express their creativity unhindered. They don't fear anything. They don't even care about anyone's opinion. So that's why they seem more creative than the older version, because they're just flexible. Like we mentioned, that art is a form of you expressing yourself in a very diverse way. So kids can express themselves in a diverse way. They don't even care about other people's opinion, like I already mentioned, and it makes them to be more creative and be more open-minded and grow in this area of creativity. For example, if we can look at this young generation, I don't know what you call them. Some they call themselves Gen Z or 2000 people, the millennials. They seem more creative, more than, this time they call them a 74. They seem more creative than the 74 generation, because it's like they grew in the area of tech. They were born in the area where technology was penetrating the industry. So because they are so energetic and they are so open-minded, they get to go 10 steps ahead than the older generation. And as for adults, they tend to be more rigid and more structured. They like structured thinking and so forth and so forth compared to the younger generation. So I would say everybody can be creative. It depends on your personality, the kind of person you are, and the type of exposure that you expose yourself to. So the more the exposure, the more open-minded, you can be creative as long as you want, or as fast as you want. Thank you very much.
Wow. There we go. You have your answers. Thank you very, very much, Resego. Straight to the point. I hope we all got it clear, loud and clear. Now, we have quite a number of interesting questions, but it's already time up. It's 5 p.m., but I think we can be allowed to extend with 1 minute if any of our speakers would like to answer any of these questions. Gaone, would you like to respond to the questions? We have one from Ad
Please.
8.
Thank you.
She's
1 minute, 1 minute.
for the
Oh
big
my
boys,
goodness.
does
First,
everyone need STEAM education though? And if
yes.
a boy's plan is to become a professional footballer player, what benefits would STEAM have for them? And then we also have a very good question from Matilda. She says, great topics covered all around. What's the gap between the African education system and the rest of the world with regards to STEAM education? To STEAM progression? That's a very good question. Very, very good questions. Let me read the other one here. You can pick any of our speakers. You can pick any question to answer. This is great. This is from Kikase's STEM. This is a STEM organization. I wish this could be held at least twice a week. An extra session during the weekend when people are not busy at work. Teachers should be invited to join such a word of discussion and share their thoughts and challenges. And we can all come up with solutions to their problems. This is a very good point, Kikae. We would love to collaborate with you and hold those sessions. We actually just starting, we're just bringing back what we used to do last year. We used to have every Friday sessions, and we do it at 4 p.m. because we have a lot of partners in Global North. We have a lot of our partners in the US. So this is when US is waking up. However, we've always wanted to cater for our African educators. And this is a discussion we'd love to have, and then we can schedule when we can start doing that. It could be once, we can try once fortnightly, something like that. If time allows, then we can proceed to once a week. But are we looking for a lot of these team education communities, anybody in edtech space? We're happy to partner, collaborate, and you come in as a guest. You could be promoting a program, a curriculum. It could be anything. Let's have this outreach going on. I will avoid answering any of the questions because I know our speakers are ready. Kaun, are you ready to answer one of the questions? Which one would
Absolutely.
you like?
I would love to answer two. Number one, how can we incorporate STEAM education into our kindergarten? I hope I'm audible. Perfect. Um, Excellent. With kindergarten, it's a lovely space. You have kids who are just simply in their element, kids who are just going to be kids, and all kids need at that stage is guidance. So the moment a kid is born, they fully qualify for STEAM. Why am I saying that? Because once they are a toddler, can I get up that roof? How do I get up that roof? That one step over another, over another. I have to be careful to hold on to this, test this so I do not fall and get an ouchie. So they are already into STEAM by literally just being in their natural instinct. So what I can say is, okay, allow kids to be who they are, add to what they are doing, nurture their creativity, guide, study them, see where they are leaning towards, and then capitalize on that. That way, it's going to be a seamless process to actually incorporate STEAM into kindergarten education, which, in my belief, I believe is already in there. I'm going to keep that short. The second one is, if a child wants to be a footballer, how is STEAM education beneficial to them? It is in every way beneficial to a footballer. Let me tell you a short story. I live or I identify with being a creative. And how I do that is that I say it's because I'm simply in touch with my inner child. A child is curious, a child is open minded, a child tries, fails, tries another time, or tries another route. A child is okay with working with another person because they are focused in making this one thing happen. That principle on its own can get an individual to succeed and stand out in every single discipline you can possibly think of. I can guarantee you that. So the gentleman or the young lady who wants to be a footballer needs STEM education, because that's where critical thinking, how do I tackle that? How do I get to that, bypass or whatnot to make that goal? They need to work with others, because obviously that's a team of people working against another team to get a goal. They need problem solving skills. They need to be able to communicate with one another. So those are the skills that are fostered and nurtured and cultivated with STEAM learning. So absolutely, it's a person or a student or a child who is nurtured and developed, or to whose development STEAM education is added. That's a student or a learner or an adult tomorrow who will flourish in every discipline they are in. Thank you very much. Yes.
Amazing. I love, love, love your response. And yes, indeed, we all need STEAM education. We all do. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to read. We have a beautiful comment from Kingdom Arts Academy, who says, "Thank you for covering the arts. As a music school, we try to emphasize the benefits and skills that learning music instrument has. There's a lot of soft and technical skills that can be applied in one's day-to-day life outside of music." Brilliant points. Thank you so much, Kingdom Arts. If Shiza is still with us, I'm sure she's dancing to this because she loves music. And yes, we love music, and we so much try to incorporate. You know, Africans, we're known. We dance when we're happy, we dance when we're sad, we dance when we're mourning, we dance when we have weddings, and we dance when we have funerals. We just dance. It is our way of life, it's how we express ourselves. So the same thing, we do a lot of dancing with our children. It is so much part of us. We may not sometimes have the musical instruments, which would love to work with you, Kingdom Arts, and sometimes collaborate and invite you to some of our sessions. I'm sure you would love it. We're going to be doing a lot of activities with children. We're having two huge competitions this year, and we of course want to collaborate with anybody who is working with children in any space with children. So thank you, dear listeners. I see we are 7 minutes past our time, unless we have a speaker with something burning. Otherwise, we're just gonna do 1 minute each. You give us a wrap, your closing remarks. If you want to respond to any of the questions, we're good to go. Who is gonna start first? Who's ready to go?
Okay, thank you. I don't have much to say, but to appreciate our wonderful audience. You've been so interactive and giving us nudges here and then. I'm also looking forward doing this time and again with you and evolve Africa for the best because we've been lagging behind for the longest time, but we are catching up. So thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend.
Muso, you're next. Thank you.
I would like to thank the listeners for the great questions that you brought. Thank you so much. And I hope that from this meeting, you have gotten a lot of knowledge about sustainability and the environment, and that you'll find practical ways of implementing it in your communities. Uh, and I hope to see projects trending online about the initiatives that are going to come from your side. Thank you. Catch you in the next session.
Oh,
Thank you, everyone, for joining this Young Innovators podcast. And I believe that you've learned a lot from it. And your questions were great. They were awesome. They were giving. They were charming, as Miss Kim likes to say. But anyway, thank you for being part of this podcast. I wish that next time we'd have more youth, more especially my age mates. Like I'm just 18 and I'm not seeing my age mates here. Where are you? So call them and share the link so that they can be able to be part of this. Thank you very much.
Gaone, you have closing remarks?
absolutely. I would love to close by answering to that question, the gap between the African education system and the rest of the world with regards to STEAM. What I can say right now is where we are as an African continent is at, innovation centers. We're still knocking on doors. We're still saying, hi, this is this new thing. There's this gem that we are having that could really bring a change, a positive change to all our lives. Please, invest in us. Please let us in. Let STEAM be part of the curriculum. So the only way the gap can be closed is if more voices come and unite and speak as one voice that cannot be ignored or dismissed or maybe made of lower priority by the decision makers. So I believe that unity can really get us there. I love that especially from the comment section, our viewers, they are lovely, very receptive. In fact, they are believers in STEM education, which means even, the likes of you, Miss Kim, with all these podcasts and the posts that are consistent, spreading the message that STEAM is the answer to a lot of the troubles that our youth are, grieving about. So all in all, let's unite. Let's have more. The more the merrier in STEAM. Let's have more voices speaking for STEAM. And I believe the decision makers, because that's where everything becomes a yes or a no, will actually pay attention and will actually be driven to that call to action. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Gaone. Thank you, Resego. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Muso. And thank you, our dear listeners. It has been quite engaging, quite interactive. We appreciate your time. Please tune in. Please let us know if you're free to join us next week, Friday, as a guest speaker. And please, as Sophia is crying out, invite others and especially youth. We want this to be a platform where not just educators and parents, but our youth will have specific sessions with kids in schools that will come interact with us and ask questions and issues that are concerning them regarding education. And we'll want you to be online to respond to their questions. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye. And please keep spreading the magic of STEAM education. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.